Hey everyone, what's going on? There's this show that recently got popular on Netflix called Tiger King, and it's no doubt that this show got popular for a reason, much like every other TV show and fad and so on. And the TV is really here for entertainment and programming, and it keeps the general population's minds locked inside of this false reality, and people don't think outside of the box because they're constantly getting programmed by things in the media, TV shows, and so on. If you're one of them people who watches American Idol and believes that all of the sad stories about all of the singers are true, then you are under some type of spell and your mind is being programmed. That's why they say back to the programming, right? That's why they call the TV entertainment, because it's all entertainment. And what I'm going to show in this video is that the story of Joe Exotic here and Carol Baskin, this story is all coded with an esoteric knowledge practice known as Gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. And there's much to understand with this knowledge, but every day our media is coded with this, our TV shows, and so on. Always coded with this. And think about the word spelling, right? And think about how that is connected to the word magic. And spelling, magic, placing spells, programming. If you do a little research into magic, you'll see that, certain letter combinations and numbers and signs and symbols and even this programming, it can all be used, right? And it can be used to empower certain things and make certain things happen. If you get enough people to follow a certain programming, then a certain agenda can be achieved. So with that being said, let's just look into this story here. It's a lot to do with the number 22. And think about this right away. So this guy, Joe Exotic, he was sentenced this year on January 22nd, which is the 22nd day of the year. And they sentenced him for 22 years. What else is interesting is this Carol Baskin lady. If you write her name out in Gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, Carol Baskin, it just so happens to equal 79. I'll talk more about this in a second, but her name equals 79, and that's interesting because it's the 22nd prime number, right? So her name equals 79, which is the 22nd prime number. Joe Exotic, sentenced on the 22nd day of the year for 22 years. The word murder also equals 79, the 22nd prime number. And think about how he hired somebody to, or supposedly hired somebody to murder Carol Baskin and so on. And to further this, if you go from the day that this show came out, March 20th, and you go to Carol Baskin's birthday, it just so happens to be 79 days. So the show came out 79 days before Carol Baskin's birthday, and her name equals 79 in Gematria. She's the owner of this big cat rescue business, and that's why she's going against him, because I haven't really watched the show that much. I watched like one episode, but basically, she's going against him because he has all these cats locked up in cages and so on. It's Big Cat Rescue. But notice this company was founded on November 4th. And if you go from November 4th to the 22nd day of the year where he was sentenced for 22 years, it is also 79 days later. The 22nd prime number. He was even originally arrested on September 7th of 2018, which in most parts of the world, they write the date as 7/9, a lot like 79. And recently we got a story about how he was suing for $79 million, or nearly $79 million while he's in the jail. 79, Once again, the number connected to 22. What else is interesting is that Joe Exotic, he's 57 years old right now, so he was 57 years old when this show came out. And in 22 years, the 22nd anniversary of this show, he'll be 79 years old, right? 22 and 79. There was also a story just yesterday in the mainstream media that talked about his husband, Dylan Passage, and how he supports him. And as you read through the story, you find out that they got married when his husband was 22 years old. So he married a 22-year-old, and he's sentenced on the 22nd day of the year for 22 years. I mean, what a joke. His husband was even born on the 22nd day of August. Also, Carol Baskin's husband went missing, right? And that's a big deal. Joe Exotic wrote a song called Here Kitty Kitty, and he was talking about how he thinks that she actually murdered his husband and fed him to the tigers and so on. And notice that he went missing in 1997, which it was August 18th, so this is in the 22nd year that he went missing, that they come out with this show. You know, he went missing 22 years ago, then they come out with this show, synced up to his wife, you know, with the number 79, and 79 is the 22nd prime number. It even says right here, missing for 22 years. I mean, what are the odds? 22 years later, he marries a 22-year-old. He'll be 79 years old on the 22nd anniversary of the show coming out. Her first husband, she even married her first husband on 4/7 of the year 1979, right? So she married her first husband in 79 before she even met that guy. The date of 4/7 is very interesting as well with all this, because remember how Carol Baskin equals 47? And look what Joe Exotic equals. Joe Exotic, his name also equals 47. And if you come back here and look at the, where is it here? Big Cat Rescue in Gematria equals 211. That's interesting because that's the 47th prime number, right? And even if you just write out Big Cats equals 47. Her name equals 47. Joe Exotic equals 47. Big Cat Rescue equals 211, which is the 47th prime number. Even more interesting, if you look at Joe Exotic in these other ciphers here, this is why they're all important. Notice he equals 43 and also 137 and also 106. And interesting, before he married the guy named Dylan Passage, he was married to a guy named Michael Maldonado, who died on the date of October 6, 10/6, right? Joe Exotic in 2017. And then he got married to the Dylan Passage guy 2 months later, which seems kind of odd, you know? But one of his ex-husbands died on 10/6. His name's 43 and 137. And notice that he was arrested 137 days before Carol Baskin's birthday, and also 43 days before his own birthday. And his name equals 43 and 137. What are the odds, you know? It was a lot to do with Florida as well. He was, I don't know if he was arrested in Florida, but he had moved to Florida, and the Big Cat Company is in Florida, and the word Florida equals 43. That's why if you go back to the 2000 election when George W. Bush won the election over Al Gore, and it came down to Florida, and he was running to be the 43rd president, and his brother just so happened to be the 43rd governor of Florida. And then he, you know, and then he wins the election. It comes down to Florida, that equals 43. It's just ridiculous. Notice too that so he got married to his husband, his 22-year-old husband. He married him on December 11th. If you go from their wedding anniversary to the day that he went to jail or was sentenced, it's also 43 days. What are the odds? You know, his name's 43. Florida 43. This guy, Don Lewis, that was supposedly, that Joe Exotic says that Carol Baskin killed and so on. Don Lewis, his name just so happens to equal 43 in Gematria. Notice too his husband, Dylan Passage. If you go from his birthday to the day the show came out, it's 211 days, right? Synced up to the number 47. 211. Interesting too, you know, the date of March 20th. This year it was the 80th day of the year because it was a leap year. But normally it's the 79th day of the year, right? Once again, the number connected to 22. I also wrote in here that the word king equals 22. And, think about Tiger King and so on. The word king is important because this show got popular during the quarantine for coronavirus. And we've talked about how this is important to the royal symbolism, the royal family, king and queen, and so on. The word corona actually means crown, and that's why Kobe Bryant was buried in Corona del Mar, and Kobe Bryant has the crown tattoo on him, and the Lakers have LeBron, King James, and that's why Luke Walton left the Lakers to go coach the Kings, and a number of other things that I've talked about on this channel. Prince Charles supposedly got coronavirus. Coronavirus is absolutely synced up to the royal family even more than I didn't talk about that video, but think about the first case in the United States that was in Seattle, and it was important to King County, Washington, which was also important to stuff I talked about with Kobe Bryant back in 2017 and the death of Isaiah Thomas's sister named China. Think about China, the coronavirus. She died in King County, Washington in a Toyota Camry. The word Camry also means crown, and it looked just like my girlfriend's Toyota Camry, and even had the smashed in front end and everything. And then my girlfriend lost a tooth that year, and then 2 weeks after his sister died, he lost that same exact tooth, Isaiah Thomas did. So it was all synced up for something for me to see with this king symbolism, And I guess the moral of the story is that, it comes out with coronavirus, or it comes out in the time of coronavirus, and the word king also equals 22. The word tiger also in Jewish gematria equals 201, which has been this big number around coronavirus. Bill Gates hosted an event called Event 201 that was about a coronavirus that would kill 65 million people, and that's why Donald Trump declared it a national emergency on 3/13 because 313 is the 65th prime number. And in Gematria, the word pandemic equals 65. Think about it was going to kill 65 million people, and that event was 65 days after his wife's birthday, and Bill Gates is going to be 65 years old this year. It's much, much more. And notice how pandemic also equals 43, right? Joe Exotic, and Joe Exotic was born on the 65th day of the year, or his birthday was the 65th day of the year this year. Also, like the word coronavirus, if it'll let me type it here, coronavirus equals 56, and Event 201 was 56 days before the original date they said that patient 0 was on was 12/12, which was also 56 days before Queen Elizabeth's anniversary of being the queen. And the word royal family equals 61, or the phrase, and the whistleblower doctor, can't think of his name, but his name equaled 56, and this coronavirus stuff got real big on New Year's Eve, that equals the same as coronavirus, right? 56, and that's why Kobe Bryant was buried in Corona del Mar, that equals 56, and that's why the WHO declared that there was going to be a pandemic, or get ready for a pandemic, on the 56th day of the year this year. That's why toilet paper equals 56 in Gematria. That's why Event 201, 201 days after that, just so happens to be the date of 5/6, May 6, which can also be written as 6/5. So that's why the NBA canceled their season 201 days after Kobe Bryant's birthday. Much more to that, but interesting that in Jewish Gematria, the word tiger equals 201. It's also interesting that I looked up, last year was really important to World Lion Day. I was talking a lot about France, which I'll leave some video links in the description, how France is synced up to the number 56, and coronavirus, and a number of other things, but, Paris, France equals 56, and ISIS equals 56, and so on. But I was talking all about the date of August 10th last year, because that's when the Jewish festival, or the Jewish Remembrance Day called Tisha B'Av is, and that's where they remember the destruction of the two temples in history that both happened on the 9th day of the 11th month on the Hebrew civil calendar. And if you read out Tisha B'Av in Jewish gematria, it just so happens to equal 911, right? And it's in remembrance of the two temples that got destroyed on the 9th month and 11th day, right? 9/11. And I bring all this up just for the fact that Tisha B'Av this year, actually, let me go back. So August 10th was important to Tisha B'Av, and it was important because it was the 227th anniversary of the fall of the French monarchy. And if you write out French monarchy, it equals 227, and French Revolution 227, and it began by the assembly of the Estates General that equals 227, and Napoleon was born on the 227th day. And this year, the date of 5/6 just so happens to be the 227th day of the 227th year of the French Republic. So, much more to that. But it was important to Tisha B'Av, and that also just so happened to be World Lion Day, and it was synced up to Haile Selassie and the Ethiopian airline crash that we got on March 10th last year. That's why the Lion King film came out. And, World Lion Day happened during the time of Leo in astrology, which is a lion, and much, much more. But I figured I would look up if there was a World Tiger Day. And let me find it here. Maybe I didn't put it in here, but I thought I put it in here somewhere. Well, I can't find it right now, but World Tiger Day this year just so happens to be on the date of January 29th, which is also the anniversary of NASA, and it's also the day that Tisha B'Av begins this year, January 29th. So, let me find it here. Tiger Day. Maybe I put it's in this other post. International Tiger Day, July 29th, which is the day that Tisha B'Av begins this year. I've also talked a whole lot about this year being important to the moon landing because it's the 51st anniversary of the moon landing on July 20th, and July 20th is normally the 201st day of the year, and the word Apollo in Jewish gematria equals 201, and Neil Armstrong, the first guy to walk on the moon, his full name equals 201, and the other guy who walked on the moon with him, Buzz Aldrin, his birthday is 20/1, and so on. So it's important here to the moon. Think about NASA. It's the 51st anniversary. The word moon equals 51. The word conspiracy equals 51. Think about Area 51, tinfoil hat equals 51, and so on. So I knew there was something important to tigers, right? I was like, there must be something important to tigers. Makes me wonder about Tiger Woods or something. Tiger Woods is really synced with Kobe Bryant. I won't explain that in this video, but he's super synced up to Kobe Bryant. And anyway, so the next night after making this post, maybe it was 2 nights later. Yeah, I think it was 2 nights later, but I noticed the pattern here. So I was looking at the media, and they had this story about Joe Exotic's husband, Dylan Passage, and then right below it had The Masked Singer reveals the white tiger's identity, right? Think about Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, and then we got The Masked Singer reveals the white tiger's identity. And the reason that it stuck out to me even more so was because the night before, I documented about this theme with masks. I thought there was something important to it. Just want to find it here. Not that post. Let me find it. It was this post, but basically what happened was at work, this one lady went to Mexico back in February, and when she came back, she was sick, and then her husband got sick, and everyone keeps asking me if they had coronavirus and whatever, and apparently, I don't know, they never got tested, whatever, and, nobody else that they were around got coronavirus or anything like that, so pretty sure they didn't have coronavirus, but she hasn't been to work regardless since February, and that's mostly because my boss won't let her and a couple of the old ladies come back and so on, but apparently she's at home and she's making homemade masks for us or something. That's what my boss told me, and then this other girl I work with told me about it, and I made some joke about how I actually was Brad Pitt and I was wearing a mask right now, and I just had to wear my my Dan Barrett mask to work because all the ladies will be after me and so on because I look like Brad Pitt or something stupid. I don't remember. Just something to pass the time. I made some joke about masks. And then I went to Zach's blog and I noticed that he had a post about CNN's April Fool's joke about masks. And recently, back in February, I even documented about the movie called Mask with Rocky Dennis and so on. So I was just like, I wonder if there's something to do with mask, right? And then I do this Tiger King thing, and then I see this Tiger King story, and right below it, it's a story about the masked singer. And then it also involves a tiger. So I was like, I better check this out, See, there's an obvious pattern here with what I'm talking about and synced up to some type of synchronicity, not necessarily, but I've talked about how I've done this tons of times, like I noticed a pattern with like Corey Feldman being in the news and Jerry O'Connell, and River Phoenix was important to something I was following, and I said, there's something missing with this. Maybe we're going to get a story about Will Wheaton, or maybe Kiefer Sutherland, the other people that are in Stand By Me. And then literally 2 days later, we had Will Wheaton. He was on the Big Bang Theory for the first time in over a season. And it's one of the only shows that I actually watched as a show. And I thought, what are the odds Will Wheaton would be back on this show? And then 5 days later, we got the Sutherland Springs church shooting. And Will Wheaton was even on Fox News talking about that story and how people prayed, but it still didn't stop people from dying at the church and so on. So, if you follow these patterns, you can pick up on these things. So, anyway, I went through and it said that the Tiger King, or the masked tiger, was Rob Gronkowski. And I thought, that's pretty interesting considering Tom Brady, his former teammate, he had just recently went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Big Cat Company, the Big Cat Rescue Company, it just so happened to be out of Tampa, Florida. And this guy, who Carol Baskin supposedly murdered, they declared him dead in the year 2002, which was interesting to me. And think about 2002, a lot like a 22. But that was the same NFL season that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won their only Super Bowl, right? The season of 2002, they won it in 2003. So just interesting. This guy declared dead in 2002, the same year that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won their only Super Bowl over the Oakland Raiders. And Tampa Bay just so happens to equal 79, and Oakland equals 22, right? These numbers that I talked about the whole time adds. This is also the John Gruden Bowl, and, he had coached the Raiders the year before and then went to Tampa Bay, and then he ended up playing his former team in the Super Bowl because it's all just a scripted, rigged joke. But he's the current coach of the Raiders again this year. They also had a special season. The Buccaneers did. It talks about how they had a special season in 1979, right? Then they won their only Super Bowl in 2002. And the story of Rob Gronkowski, it happened on the show 43 days before his birthday, right? Think about Joe Exotic equaling 43, the Tiger King. And the same day that we got this story about him being the white tiger or whatever, and the Tiger King's boyfriend, we got a story about how the Buccaneers brought back, I can't remember his name here. Let me look it up. They brought back Blaine Gabbert to be Tom Brady's backup. And of course, it was 170 days after Blaine Gabbert's birthday, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers equal 170, so how fitting, but that story was also 4 months and 1 day before Tom Brady's 43rd birthday. Think about how the story with, or not the story, but the actual happening of Gronkowski on that show was 43 days before his birthday and so on. But the word Super Bowl equals 41. And, you know, there was also the tuck rule in that season, the 2002. There was the tuck rule game was the Patriots winning over John Gruden's Raiders in 2002. Then the next season was when Gruden went on to win the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Raiders, right? So it was against the Patriots and Tom Brady, you know, the team who came out of nowhere with Tom Brady after Drew Bledsoe got injured against the New York Jets just after 9/11. Then the Patriot Act, and then the Patriots win the Super Bowl. You know, such a stupid joke, but yeah, it's synced up to him. And let's see if I missed something up here. I don't know. I knew there was something important to this and how it's synced up to Tampa Bay, right? Tom Brady being 43. This guy's name equals 43. Same year as the Buccaneers and so on. And tonight, before making this video, I saw something about WrestleMania. And I've covered a whole lot of stuff with WrestleMania and Kobe Bryant and how he died on the day of the Royal Rumble and a ton of other stuff with WrestleMania being important and Shane McMahon dying or being in a helicopter crash, and that the King Power soccer coach, he died in a helicopter crash just before the Crown Jewel that was held, and then Shane McMahon was in that and so on. But WrestleMania 36 was supposed to be held in Tampa Bay. It was supposed to be held in the same place where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, Raymond James Stadium, but because of coronavirus, it got moved to the Performance Center in Orlando. And as I'm reading about it, it says that the host of it is Rob Gronkowski, right? I mean, it's just craziness. Former NFL player Rob Gronkowski, who had recently signed with the WWE, was also announced to serve as the host of the event. So Rob Gronkowski is hosting WrestleMania that was originally supposed to be in Tampa Bay. You know? Interesting, it's now in Orlando, and Rob Gronkowski, he was also in WrestleMania 33, that was in Orlando. So, and then I found out that, I didn't even know this until just today, that the Raymond James Stadium is where Super Bowl 55 is going to be held, right? And think about how it's synced up to Tom Brady and so on. So, Super Bowl. I don't know. It's on the 38th day of the year, which is interesting. There's the word pandemic equals 38. The word death equals 38. Important number. So, I don't know. I need to look more into this, but I just thought it was interesting noticing this pattern with, you know, Rob Gronkowski and how it's synced up to the Tiger King, and that at Tampa Bay and so on, that I noticed this, that he's hosting WrestleMania 36 that was supposed to be in Tampa Bay, which is where the Super Bowl is going to be held this next year. And baseball too, I'm pretty sure Tampa Bay Rays equals 43. I don't even know if is that even what they're even still called? I just remember that from a long time ago. Maybe they're not called that anymore. They were the Devil Rays. We'll look. Yep, Tampa Bay Rays equals 43. What else do they equal? It's going to be the 116th World Series. We'll just look at it real quick if my computer will load here. Tampa Bay Rays. Well, they don't equal 116. Well, I don't know. I'll look into it more. They equal the same as coronavirus, so who knows? Just wanted to make a video, show that this TV show, just like any other show, is just all about programming the minds, and it's always coded by the numbers, and pretty much every story you see in the mainstream media gets coded by the numbers, and things that go on in your daily life are coded by the numbers, and they're synced up to this, but You know, there's a difference. There's people who are purposely doing this, and then there's also things that naturally happen because of people doing this. So, what's up, dude?